We're only a few hours away from the Super Bowl. And this is the Geek's Guide to the Super Bowl. I personally am a Chiefs fan, lifelong Chiefs fan. I'm right from outside the Kansas City metropolitan area. Jim from Weird Science is a Philadelphia Eagles fan. And people might not know this, but we had planned to have a NFL football podcast this year. Yeah. But we weren't able to do those plans this season. Maybe next season. If you want to have a podcast with Jim and I talking about football all season long, let us know in the comments section. Yeah. But this should be a big Super Bowl, Jim. It's a rematch of a Super Bowl a couple years ago. The Chiefs won, but still very evenly matched, and a lot of the players are returning.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's one of those things that I still to this day will tell you that pass interference call was bull crap. And since then, more people have, jumped on that bandwagon of the Chiefs. I'm not down with that now. It's one of those things where I like to make fun of you about it. And now everybody goes to that. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's happening.
That's been the good thing about this week. It's been kind of quiet on the Super Bowl front.
Yeah.
Because of all the weird NBA trades that happened, like Luka Doncic, a generational player getting traded before his prime is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life.
Crazy.
But then we've had all the Doge, like Elon Musk stuff going on. So I haven't had to hear people bitch and complain about the Chiefs getting calls for a week straight, which was already getting very old and very, very stupid.
Now, here's the thing. You get the two things. You get the Chiefs being yelled at. Oh, they get all the calls. They get all the calls. And then on the other side, I still hear snowballs at Santa. The idea of that sort of thing. I'm like, okay, I don't need that.
Well, it's because you guys are degenerates. There's nothing wrong with our team.
Well, you guys are cheaters as well. Start yelling at you now.
Stop treating us like we're the freaking Patriots.
I love the idea, though, with that, too. You end up, if you would poll people and say, okay, when do you think the Eagles had in the snowball thing? People, well, it was probably like 89. It was 95. No, it was in the 60s. It's so far removed. It's nonsense. But that's what the idea where people just want to attack Philadelphia for their fans, and then they want to attack obviously any team that's winning as much as the Chiefs, because you can't be good, you have to be cheating. And with that, I hope the Eagles win. We're going to talk about it, obviously, but I don't want it to be like, oh, well, they won because they didn't. Like, it's always going to be something. The Eagles will end up, they'll be like an asterisk, even if they win. Well, it's because the refs didn't do this. I don't like that shit. That kind of annoys me. So I'm more looking for a good game.
The stuff after the Texans divisional game against the Chiefs, where D'Amico was like, "Oh yeah, we were playing the refs too." It was like, no, it had nothing to do with the 8 fucking sacks that the Chiefs had. It had nothing to do with the blocked field goal, or was that an extra point? It had nothing to do with your missed field goal, your missed extra point. It had nothing to do with the 95-yard fucking kick return that you had in the game. It was the refs that actually screwed you out over it. You didn't play bad.
And here's the thing: if anybody, and it's great that we're starting with the cheating stuff. The idea, if it does come down to that, whatever, I'm hoping the Eagles can outplay that, even if they had to do some things. But like you said, you can't have 8 turnovers and say, oh, it was the refs. Like, you got to play your game as well. And I think the Eagles can, though I'm worried. And when we talk about this, it's like the idea where I think the Eagles should win, but there's a couple.
Yeah, why are you worried? You have literally the better team.
This is the problem. You
have the better squad at every position.
Yeah, they are.
Other
They're
than
better.
Quarterback. Yep. Maybe defensive back, and without Nakobe Dean, maybe they're even at linebacker.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you guys have better squads at essentially every position.
And that's what gets me upset, because even then, there's one thing that everybody will say and everybody will go, and it's the biggest thing. Well, there's 2 big things in my mind, but one is just, oh, why do you think the Chiefs are Mahomes? And that's all you have to say. It's like, it's so infuriating. The idea where I sit there and like, the Eagles almost won the last time, and
Hurts almost won that game single-handedly. It wasn't like it was AJ Brown; it was Jalen Hurts.
And that's the thing. If we go through, and as we talk here, the thing that you won't hear me say much at all is the idea that they need Hurts to play great. They don't. They have a team set up beyond Hurts. Hurts is kind of a wild card, even to add onto things with Saquon and the defense are great. And if you do go down tit for tat down the lineup and the roster, the Eagles are a better team. They really are, but they don't have Mahomes, and they also don't have Andy Reid. That's the other deal with that. And they also, there is that play of the Chiefs in a weird way that everybody hates. And I hate to sit here and talk a lot about the Chiefs because I'm not a real big fan. But the idea, they have that aura around them now, especially because they keep winning these stupid one-score games that you got. Yeah, but you're never going to get that far ahead of them. I'm
so
worried.
You say you're not a big fan, and it makes sense. You're a Philadelphia Eagles fan.
Yeah,
but you are surrounded by a Chiefs fan. Like your wife is now a big Chiefs fan.
Yeah,
and she'll be rooting for
Taylor Swift
Mahomes and company.
Jr. there. And that's again, anybody who gets annoyed with the Taylor Swift stuff, I live it every time. But here's the thing, and I'll tell you right now, and I don't know if you're the same way. I'm an Eagles fan. I will root for the Eagles till the day I die. They've been the biggest team for me in my entire life. But I still do like other players. But I won't like I don't like the Chiefs, but I do like Mahomes. And it's easy to like AFC guys as well. But I do like Kelsey. But it's just when they play the Eagles, I got to, root for the Eagles, obviously. And this is where I get the whole Philadelphia cynicism, is the idea that I know that the Eagles are better. They are, but they're not the Chiefs. They're not Mahomes. And it bothers me, and I'm worried. I'm very worried about it, though. I still think the Eagles can squeak it out, but I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout either way. But I don't know
crazy.
about you.
Mahomes has been a starting quarterback in the NFL for 7 seasons. Mm-hmm. Every season, he's made it to the AFC title game, and this is his 5th Super Bowl appearance.
Yep. Yeah. Probably his worst season, though, this year. That's the only, but it doesn't matter. That's
what
doesn't matter. Well, the team, that's the thing, but he didn't even make the Pro Bowl. The idea,
but you got to remember
a little
this,
down, and there was injuries. I'm telling you, though, this is where he's like prime, but it doesn't seem to be able to.
But this season, what you have to remember, what nobody was even giving any credit for, is before this even started in the first, I think, preseason game. They lost Hollywood Brown, who was supposed to be their big deep threat.
He's back now.
Within, I think, the first or the second game, they lost Isaiah Pacheco, their big threat, running back. Then they lost Rashee Rice, and they lost 3 of their 4 biggest offensive weapons around Mahomes within the first 3 weeks of the season.
True. And now they're healthy.
And he still was pretty darn good.
He was good.
Elevating the play of everyone around him. But it's hard when you're playing with your 3rd and 4th string wide receivers being elevated to number 1 when, was it Justin Watson's your number 1 guy getting the most snaps at wide receiver? Not a good place.
It is tough, but there's also the thing which Mahomes is going to have to deal with.
What he did was amazing.
Career is the idea that people are going to expect crazy numbers from him all the time, and he's more about winning. But again, I don't want to pump him too much, but again, the Eagles themselves, I mean, they got Saquon Barkley, which is one of the biggest, free agent signings, at least Eagles wise, but I think NFL wise. And I'm talking all the time. It was huge. But the idea where they didn't know how they were going to play the first 4 games, the Eagles weren't great. They were struggling. They didn't really have, and even as it went through, they tend to let teams stick around at points, and it drives me nuts. And you can't do that with the Chiefs. And that's the one thing I worry about. But there's a couple things I worry about, but I still think they can win. I'm still going to go. I'm not going to be somebody who's yelling and screaming at you that there's no way they're going to lose, because there's always a way, especially with, Mahomes and Andy Reid.
You know what I'm most excited about? I'm not like the world's biggest Eagles fan. I don't know every player on the team, but I do know that your kicker is good for 1 missed field goal.
That's the problem. And he never was. Jake Elliott. Jake Elliott was so solid. And it's the, I forget what somebody had a nickname for him, because I talked to a bunch of people when the games go. And, anytime he's lining up for anything, and he has struggled over 50 yards, like mightily struggled, which you're don't have.
I'm waiting for that shank where you guys are going to take the lead going into halftime, and it goes wide right. It's still tied, and the Chiefs get the ball coming out.
Worse, and then it all turns. And even that he's missed extra point. Jake Elliott used to be so solid. I think this is his last season. I think they're going to end up getting rid of him, but he just doesn't have a leg anymore, and that could be huge. Now it's indoors, stuff like that, but still, I don't have confidence. This is the thing. The Eagles with kickers, with Jake Elliott, and even before, have been pretty solid with kickers, but he's completely fallen off a cliff this year, and that's the thing. I'll tell you, if somebody's like, "Boy, you guys are already talking kickers," I do think this is going to be a close game. And a missed field goal, a missed extra point could be the deal. And I do think it's going to be one of those deals. But again, the Eagles, I don't know, they're tough. but their defense is great. You can't get to Mahomes though, because he gets rid of the ball so quick. But you give me your deal with your.
Well,
Chiefs,
what I'm most interested in
Chiefs.
now with the Eagles is this knee of Jalen Hurts. It looked like he got hurt really bad, and he had the knee brace came out. He didn't run it anymore that game, but in the NFC title game, he looked fine. You think he's all good?
I think he's good. I think he's all good. He's the guy is kind of a freak. I mean, everybody goes with that one video of him, powerlifting and things like that. He's in good shape. That knee looked horrible, though, and I was worried. He also had the concussion before then and things like that. But I think he's fine. I don't know if they're going to end up where they're going to try to change things up and go a little different. But I just expect Saquon to get it a lot anyway, and then Jalen, can step up and do his stuff. But I hope that he's fine, but it looked like he was. It didn't look like he was having any problems. But
that's the good thing about having Spagnuolo is, as a defensive coordinator, he's going to give you something, but he's never going to give you what you want to do. So I imagine a lot of what Spagnuolo is going to have ginned up, he's had 2 weeks to do it, is going to be that we don't want Saquon Barkley to beat us. If we're going to lose, it's going to be A.J. Brown one-on-one with Trent McDuffie. If we're going to lose, it's going to be Devontae Adams one-on-one, with Jalen Watson or whatever on the outside who's returned and looking really good. So you're going to have to make the plays, but he does a really good job of taking away one thing almost the entire game. And I think this game, it'll almost all be predicated on taking away Saquon Barkley.
It would be. And again, though, that's kind of the thing that you can maybe go with the idea. Listen, they're going to try to stop Saquon, but Saquon, he has some obviously crazy stats. And I think it's if he gets 30 yards or more, now he has the all-time, he passes Terrell Davis as all-time, including postseason and a deal. And a lot of times they do stack the box and it doesn't matter. He has a weird thing where he usually goes 4 yards before being touched. And the Eagles offensive line's great. I mean, it's the best in the league. It's just going to be the idea. Can you stop? And are they going to try to do something where if, you kind of play that game, well, we know they're going to go after and we'll do something different. But I hope the Eagles just go and try to pound it in at first. And
exactly what I want to happen.
Yeah, well,
Chris Jones, people think about him as only a pass disruptor, with his bull rush and all that kind of stuff. But he's actually a fan-fucking-tastic run stopper in the middle as well. He always takes up two people.
And I'll tell you, one of the things that scares me about the Chiefs, because again, you have a lot of people who will complain about this, that, or the other thing. And because of Mahomes and because even Andy Reid is an offensive coach, the idea that they don't understand that legit, the Chiefs are one of the best tackling defenses in the league. They really are. They can tackle. They don't get a lot of missed tackles. And that's something that, the Eagles count on, especially with Saquon. But they do have great receivers and Goddard. They really have a lot of things going. But again, I'm still, and I don't know other people in Philadelphia, the way that I do like Jalen, but I don't have a real connection with him yet. It's a weird thing in Philadelphia with quarterbacks. It's hard to get that connection. And he's such a standoffish guy, but I still think he can come through, but I don't know. I worry if the game's on the line at the end and you rely on his arm and not Saquon or his legs with that. But I'm sure we're going to get a bunch of pushes. We're going to get all that stuff and people will go nuts about that. The worst thing about this game is that everybody's saying that it's going to suck. I think it's going to be a really good game. And I'm sure people will watch it. The people, everybody else who's not in Philadelphia and Kansas City, they're all yelling.
It's the best football team in the NFC.
Exactly.
The best football team in the AFC.
Yeah, and they're stacked. It looks like it's going to be a really good game. But again,
you might get to see history that's never happened. That a team has won 3 Super Bowls in a row.
I know. That's the other thing that I want. It's such a weird play because I love Andy Reid so much, and I want him to succeed so much. But the idea that I want the Eagles to win, obviously. But again, and if that happens, I'd love to see what people think of Sirianni, who really doesn't get any credit as a coach either. The guy, you'd never hear him mentioned, and he possibly could win 2 Super Bowls, win one in 4 years.
What's Sirianni good at?
Well, he's good at getting the players to play. I guess the thing is, I don't think he's good at talent evaluation, maybe. I mean, they're drafting.
No, he's not. Howie Roseman
is
good for talent evaluation.
He's something.
I'm pretty sure Howie Roseman is the one that brought in Vic Fangio. I don't think Nick Sirianni.
And that's the thing too. Vic Fangio is.
He feels like he's just there.
But that's what I'm saying, though. But he only wins, so something has to go on. You can't just have just.
I think he's surrounded by excellence, but I don't think he's the excellent part of it.
I don't know. Vic Fangio,
it's weird.
See a stat. Well, again, he's never going to get any credit. I mean, the guy has won so much and he's going to 2 Super Bowls in 4 years, his first 4 years, and he doesn't get credit.
He almost got fired last season.
He did, and people were trying to run him out of town.
Season, Jim.
I kind of did, because that's what happens here. But I just hope that if he wins a Super Bowl, he's got to get some respect. Again, I can't even really tell you what he's great at. He gets fired up. He gets fired up. I love that. That's the thing. That's what happens. But love Doug Peterson until the year after they won the Super Bowl and everything fell apart and nobody listened to him. I think they just was like, we won already. But he kind of, and now he's, jumping around, got fired again. But I don't know. Nick Sirianni just is like a Philly guy. But you're right. I can't really say what he's great at.
I can tell you what
Howie Roseman's great.
I can tell you what D'Amico Ryans is great at. I can even tell you Dan Campbell. I can tell you what he's great at.
Well, I don't know. I mean, isn't the important thing about leaders to surround yourself with excellence? So there he goes. And he just gets fired up. But I did see a stat with Vic Fangio. It's like, there's so many losses to the Chiefs. Like, so many. He's like,
because he was at the Broncos.
Yeah, he's like 0-17. It's some crazy number. So this is the thing. You have to get an angle and go with the hey, let's win it for this guy. A lot of times they'll get a veteran who's never won and like, we're going to win it for him and stuff. Maybe you rally around Fangio. Maybe
we got to win it for DeAndre Hopkins.
It looks like, You get Kellen Moore who might be leaving. So maybe it's like, hey, let's do this for everybody. It's an odd deal, but the Eagles have a good staff.
They didn't win it for Jason Kelce. Why the hell are they going to win it for Vic Fangio?
They didn't. Now, speaking of Jason Kelce, one of the things that I worry about, and I think that Jason Kelce's awesome. He's getting older, but in the playoffs, he steps up, and the Eagles could not stop Zach Ertz when they played the Commanders last week or 2 weeks ago when they had that in the championship game. He went wild, so I'm very, very worried about Kelce, and he has some records, that he can pass and do all that sort of thing too. So again, that's when you talk about the Chiefs, it's these big things, but they're bigger than just stats and things like that because of what they've done, and they're going for this third deal. And
Andy Reid coming off essentially a bye week. The numbers are
he's awesome.
Juicy.
And they were always juicy. That was a big thing with the Eagles when they think. The funny thing is the big thing about Andy Reid as an Eagle head coach was his time management. That was always the thing that that was the one thing. And the idea that at one point he was like, he wouldn't run. He would always pay. He's gotten so much better even and really has learned and gone. And it's a shame, but his time with the Eagles was done, unfortunately. But I'm looking at a picture of Nick Sirianni. I'm like, Nick, what do you do? He ended up.
I remember him crying during the national anthem.
That's the thing. Like he does that. He gets fired up. He yells at that. I think that he's just there to get fired up and yell and give fingers to the Cowboy fans.
Yeah, but it seemed like him getting fired up turned off his team for a year.
It did for a year.
He might not be good at that.
Again, you even say stuff like that, saying I wanted him out. It seemed like Jalen wanted him out as well. And there was a lot of talk. There was so much talk of Jalen not talking to him and going other places, even calling ex-head coaches. He called the Giants coach to ask, how do you, game play against me? And Nick, it seemed to have lost his mind that he did kind of a smart play, but ended up where they just didn't seem on the same page, but they seem like they're there now.
The big Dom guy trying to hold him back and not sabotage the team.
Yeah.
It's like, you're the head coach. You can't do that.
No, you can't. So I just, again, it's going to be one of those, even if he wins a Super Bowl, I don't think that his time in Philadelphia is going to be very long, but it's weird. But I'm telling you, Fangio's a really good coach. Kellen Moore is a great coach, and I think that they can do it. It's just the Eagles just have to get over that hump, and the hump is, Mahomes. And Mahomes being able to, again, I expect a lot of screens from the Chiefs. They do that a lot. And the Eagles they have a great offensive line or defensive line. Jalen Carter's great, but you gotta get to Mahomes. I don't know that they can.
Creed Humphrey versus Jalen Carter is going to be a lot of fun to see.
Huge. Yeah. And I mean, I'm even telling you, Nolan Smith, a lot of people don't really know about him. Linebacker. He's
400 pounder? No, that's the other dude from Georgia.
Yeah, they have so many guys from Georgia, but he is so good. I expect him to actually get a couple sacks. I think that he might be a bit of a wild card deal, but you have the people in Kelsey's trouble, but I do think they match up. I just think it's almost, to me, it's pretty evenly matched because of the idea of Mahomes and Andy Reid elevating the things, and they did
get all their weapons back, other than Rasheed Rice.
Yep. Yeah. The Eagles have a couple injuries, but a lot of the things they said, their center, they might have Graham back, and they might have Graham. And that's a big thing. But again, some people were, especially in Philadelphia, listening to some things this week, they're worried about that because the Eagles have gotten this chemistry going with, especially in the playoffs. In the playoffs, during the season, they rotate a ton. They stopped doing that as much. Jalen Carter, I think I heard, he's like 92% of the snaps. So that wasn't what he was doing in the regular. But Brandon Graham coming in the linebacker, everything gets mixed up. But there's the deal of let's win it for him is actually where you would get the idea. But again, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But they have a couple injuries, but not anything huge. I think that it's going to be a good game. I'm worried
it's going to be a low-scoring game. I don't think it's going to be 35.
It's weird. Some people claim, in fact, some people I heard this week were saying that they expect it to be like 47. This one guy, I forget who it was like 46-42, like the craziest score I've ever heard in my life.
That would be fun.
Like, I don't know about that. It would be. It'd be hilarious. It'd be great. Again, it would drive me nuts. But yeah, I expected to just be back and forth, but I worry about it.
Very difficult to put that many points up on a Steve
It would be so crazy.
Defense.
Yeah, it'd be so crazy. I think the defenses are too good. Unless you start scoring with the defense, you might do something weird. But again, that's not the thing is Jalen Hurts. A lot of people, again, they don't know too much about him. And I see people even this week saying, well, he doesn't pass well and he just runs, whatever. He's kind of, he's good at both. Sometimes he's a little off. Sometimes he
holds the ball too long.
Yeah, he does. And that's a big Troy Aikman thing as well. Like,
do you remember the Super Bowl last time when he held the ball too long?
He
got sacked. Was it Menahue knocked it out?
Yep. Yeah.
And then Bolton ran it in for a fucking touchdown right before the halftime.
Yeah, that's true. That actually was the killer. It was
great.
Yeah, it was so awful. But he does hold it too long. And again, it hasn't been a big thing because they run the ball so well. But he's got to get rid of it. He's got to pass a little, and obviously you're going to have to, get some third downs and things. One of the things about Sirianni too, though, he'll go on fourth down, not as much as the stupid Commanders. They like go on fourth down every time, but he'll take some chances. He'll do some things, so it should be pretty good. I just worry about the intangible stuff with the Chiefs because they're going for a three-peat. Obviously, they're going to go in confident.
The Chiefs' record with T Swift in attendance for a game is really sublime. I think they've only lost a couple of them. And she's going to be there.
I love the idea, too. She was an Eagles fan, but her parents are Eagles fans from Pennsylvania. And then the next thing you know,
Andy Reid met her before she was a singer. She met her as a little girl.
Exactly.
Apparently, she makes fabulous homemade Pop-Tarts.
There you go. I didn't know that. Andy Reid would love that. He loves the Pop-Tarts. The deal, too, is it's so weird. Like, the people get connected to the Eagles. Back in the day, it was Tara Reid, the actor. Like, she was at games and everybody, even though it's spelt different, that must be Andy Reid's niece. And now it's, freaking T Swift with her Pop-Tarts. Go screw you.
But that's what your wife's going to watch the game for.
She is. And they're going to show her. And it's going to, I'm sure right now what's the over-under? The over-under is probably like 6, maybe more of how.
My wife's got a shirt that says in my Chiefs era. She'll probably be wearing that one.
Damn it. Yeah, my wife has a Kelsey jersey only because of T Swift. And
she loves the Chiefs.
So that's the thing, though. She's a big Saquon Barkley fan, though, this season. So we'll see. She jumps.
You think she's going to be conflicted?
Around. She might be. Like, she ended up where I hate to be hateful or anything. This is weird, but my wife ended up just a couple of days ago saying, I like Saquon Barkley more because he's not engaged to a really good-looking lady. I said, did you just say that you like the guy because he has an ugly fiance? And she's like, I didn't say that. I think you did.
Slumming it?
I think you did.
I've never seen Saquon's fiance.
Yeah, she just the lady, like he's, they have a couple kids and fiance, whatever. It's just funny that she said that. And he didn't go for a supermodel. I'm like, what do you mean by that? Well, she's not like overly beautiful. What do you say? But yeah, again, though, I think that
Patrick Mahomes is married to his high school sweetheart as well. He's had the third child.
Yeah, actually, I did bring that up. For some reason, she doesn't like Patrick's wife. She thinks she's got a loud mouth or something, she said. But again.
She must have watched Quarterback.
She probably did. She probably saw like, and that's the thing too. She probably just ended up just seeing things like clips of just really over the top bad stuff. But
I remember watching Quarterback, walking away going, Patrick's got his fucking hands full.
Like, oh, there you go. And all that was a good deal. But yeah, so all around, I think the Eagles on paper should win. I really think they should. Their defense is great. Their offensive line is incredible. Saquon Barkley is like
AJ Brown and Devontae Adams will both get
they're great.
Enormous catches over 20 yards apiece.
Yeah.
They won't have a lot of catches, but they'll have 3 or 4 bombs because the Chiefs do give that up because they play a lot of main coverage.
Yep. Yeah. And the Eagles play a lot of zone, which has allowed them to not give up.
Terrible idea against Patrick Mahomes.
I know, that's the problem. And they haven't let.
He was full of zone busters.
They've let up like one over 50-yard catch like the whole season, but that's not how
the Chiefs play.
That's the thing.
They go 5 yards at a time.
Exactly. And they do. They said this stat was like ridiculous. The amount of percentage passes behind the line of scrimmage, because they do those screens, those quick outs. He gets rid of it so quick.
Like the amount of 10-yard drives.
It's crazy. And that it wears you down. It just wears you down. And that's the other thing that I worry, again, being worried about the game with the Eagles is you got to just play the game. You can't be the idea of if we make one mistake, Mahomes is just going to kill us, but it kind of happens. So you just can't make the mistakes, which Jalen hasn't thrown many interceptions. There's a lot of his deal, especially after the first 4 games, he looked awful. And then the Eagles came together. And since then he's got like a combined with running and throwing, like 32 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, something like that. That's a really huge like deal. He doesn't give up the ball.
After the Bills lost, a lot. The Chiefs didn't have a single turnover as a team. Until the last game.
Yeah. And so you say you do that, but then you have the Eagles defense that scores a lot and gets a lot of takeovers, and they have a really crazy defense all around. I just don't see, like, you can't rely on that with Mahomes, and that's where I worry. The things that are their strengths, like you said, their strength of zone defense, you can't do that. Their takeaways is probably not going to happen.
But you also can't blitz Mahomes either, because he'll make you pay for that.
And that's the thing, too, with the whole play. That's the thing that people, if they don't know, the Eagles don't blitz a lot because their offensive line is so good. And Jalen Carter, all them. But you might have to mix some in just to mix it.
Missing Hassan Reddick this season, dude. You did not get a replacement.
Yeah. So we'll have to see what goes on. And you might get like some crazy deal like Darius Slay. He jumps things a lot. But
he's going to get absolutely burned by Xavier Worthy. No doubt about it.
Yeah. But again,
there's going to be a play with him looking up at the fucking big screen while Xavier's doing like
he's always looking. But then you have Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback. He's awesome. Like when people were talking this week, nobody mentioned Darius Slay, and I know that probably drives him nuts, but he jumps everything. The worst is when he gets either that or like the worst pass interference, and he's like, what are you looking at?
Arms up. He's always only tackled him.
I hate that deal where he does it so he has that head tilt and he's looking at the jumbotron, just like, dude, you got burned. Like, but sometimes it works out. But Quinyon Mitchell's really good on the other side too, and they'll mix that up and things, and little things like Goddard, who's really good. He had a great season, stuff like that. Going CJ Gardner-Johnson, they have a really good defense though. That's the big thing that I'm kind of hoping. But again, does that negate
Chiefs
Mahomes?
Also have a really good defense.
Yeah, they do, and they don't get a lot of credit for that
for some reason.
Yeah. It's but again, because I think around the league they just think of Mahomes, and then you have the running back by committee and whatnot, and I think they can stop the running game, but it's that screen game, that quick pass deal. You don't get to Mahomes, so it's going to be tough. And then he scrambles and all that shit too. So I'm worried. But
Jim.
I still think the Eagles can do it. My prediction is that I'm going to go with the Eagles because they're my team, but I think it's going to be, telling you, it's going to be something like 24-20 Eagles. That's where I'll see that. That's the weird thing is I don't expect them to be able to hold Mahomes. So I could go even like 27-24, somewhere in that range. But I think they'll win by like three or 4 points. But Chiefs are good at winning those
24-20 was also the score in my mind.
Really?
I'll give it to the Eagles because
then
I don't
we'll
want to jinx my own team.
Yeah,
I think you guys are going to win 24-20.
And
hopefully Patrick Mahomes proves me wrong.
Yeah. Like I said, I think 24-20 Chiefs. And it's funny because we didn't talk any scores or whatever, but that's the score that kind of I've been thinking throughout. But again, it's almost like in my mind, if they can keep the Chiefs to 20, then yeah, they'll win. So that's why I'm going to go with that. Jinx schminks. I'm going with the Eagles winning 24-20. We'll both be right. We can high five. And
you'll be bitching about the officiating in no time.
Yeah, I will. I know. I'm not. I joke with you the deal, but that pass interference was rough. And again, that was such a good
you go
game.
head hunting on a pass play like that, you're going to get called for interference.
Yeah, well,
what do you want?
They're fired.
He almost ripped the jersey right off of Travis Kelce.
I know. But again, they're gonna have to solve Travis Kelce and definitely Mahomes. So I think they can do it, but if they do, it'll be crazy. But again, if the Chiefs win, I won't be shocked. So.
That is your Geek's Guide to the Super Bowl. Nice short show. If you like this and you would like Jim and I to get together for a football podcast, something that we are going to do this season, end up getting put off, let us know that there's an audience for it. And we will try and do that because I think we do enjoy talking about football and we are both enormous football fans.
Mm-hmm.